always, from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to A Course in the New Math. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. This appeared in Catholic Digest some years back. An intimate relationship does not banish loneliness. Only when we are comfortable with who we are and can function independently in a healthy way can we truly function within a relationship. Two halves do not make a whole when it comes to a healthy relationship. It takes two wholes. From Catholic Digest, they say that one is the loneliest number, not this hour. With Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Sarah McLachlan with A World on Fire and Hall & Oates and One-on-One. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Gerard I. Nierenberg said, if I give you my idea and you give me yours, then we each have two ideas. And together, we have four. Another writer believed somebody said you don't need an education to be a parent. Somebody never helped a fourth grader with his math. If you have a student asking you as a parent for help in math, you're probably not too eager to help with what they call the new math. A little of the old to begin this hour, not the new math they teach today. For example, if you have a penny and I have a penny and we exchange pennies, you still have 1 cent and I still have 1 cent. But if you have an idea and I have an idea and we exchange ideas, now you have two and I now have two ideas. 1 + 1 always equals 2. Another writer said 1 is probably the most important number. It's the beginning. It takes 1 minute to have a crush on someone, an hour to like someone, and 1 day to love someone. But it takes a lifetime to forget someone. From another writer, by living your life 1 day at a time, you live all the days of your life. Even if you live it for only 1 day or more, that day deserves to be lived graciously and with dignity. 1 is a pretty big number when you get right down to it. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Tim McGraw and Live Like You Were Dying, and Bryan Adams and Why Do You Have to Be So Hard to Love? I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Over many centuries, great minds have often attempted to define the true meaning of friendship. For me, the words of Cicero sum it up beautifully. Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by the doubling of our joy and the dividing of our grief. Unquote. And this is another excerpt from a poem by an unknown author and featured in the 03 edition of the Friendship Book of Francis Gay, published by D.C. Thompson and Company in England. And I quote, "A friend should be radical. He should love you when you're unlovable, hug you when you're unhuggable, and bear you when you're unbearable. A friend should be fanatical. He should cheer when the whole world boos, dance when you get good news, and cry when you cry too. But most of all, a friend should be mathematical. He should multiply the joy, divide the sorrow, subtract the past, and add to tomorrow. Calculate the need deep in your heart, and always be bigger than the sum of all their parts. Unquote. From the 03 edition of the Friendship Book of Francis Gay, and from math to a short course in human relations, although there are still numbers involved. The 6 most important words: I admit I made a mistake. The 5 most important words: you did a good job. The 4 most important words: what is your opinion? The 3 most important words: if you please. The 2 most important words: thank you. The 1 most important word: we. The least most important word: I. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Joe Cocker with Jennifer Warren's Up Where We Belong. Gloria Estefan, Here We Are, and Mariah, Carey, and We belong together, since we is the most important word. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. At the start of the hour, I asked if a student in your family has ever asked for help in the new math. My children know not to ask me. They ask their mother instead. A few weeks back, my wife and I were at my children's high school for the course curriculum for my son's grade. He's in his first year of high school this year. His math class was in one of the portables. I squeezed myself into one of the desks behind the one my wife chose for herself, and we were treated to a subject I was never very good at. I found myself trying to hide behind my wife in the event that the teacher would ask a math question and just happened to pick me out for the answer. I had a powerful sense of déjà vu, since that's exactly what I remember doing in my math classes from the past. We're getting a crash course in the new math this hour, and I probably need it the most. This was written by an anonymous writer and featured in Christopher News Notes some years back. It's very interesting. If you ask someone what's half of 8 and receive the answer 0, your first reaction is, that's nonsense. But stop for a moment. The figure 8 is composed of 2 small zeros, one on top of the other. Take it further. If a line were drawn down the middle of an 8, you would have 2 3s standing face to face. From that perspective, half of 8 would be 3. By taking a different look at things, we can make all kinds of discoveries. We can replace old perceptions with new ones, combine old ideas in new ways, and bring into being something which didn't exist before. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Blue Rodeo with 5 days in May, and a quick lesson in the old math from Feist and 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Lao Tzu wrote, "A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with one step." Heroism, the Caucasian mountaineers say, is endurance for one moment more. If you've listened to the radio program in the past, then you've probably been fascinated by this poem. It's simply called One. One song can spark a moment. One flower can wake the dream. One tree can start a forest. One bird can herald spring. One smile begins a friendship. One hand clasp lifts a soul. One star can guide a ship at sea. One word can frame the goal. One vote can change a nation. One sunbeam lights a room. One candle wipes out darkness. One laugh will conquer gloom. One step must start each journey. One word must start each prayer. One hope will raise our spirits. One touch can show you care. One voice can speak with wisdom. One heart can know what's true. One life can make the difference. You see, it's up to you. And M. Scott Peck, in People of the Lie, published by Simon & Schuster, wrote, "The whole course of human history may depend on a change of heart in one solitary and even humble individual. For it is in the solitary mind and soul of the individual that the battle between good and evil is waged and ultimately won or lost." Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Edwin McCain and I Could Not Ask for More, and Natasha Bedingfield, Unwritten. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Rumer Godden, from House of Four Rooms, published by Morrow, wrote, "There is an Indian belief that everyone is a house of 4 rooms, a physical, a mental, an emotional, and a spiritual. Most of us tend to live in one room most of the time, but unless we go into every room every day, if only to keep it aired, we are not complete." Lewis Thomas, in The Lives of a Cell, Notes of a Biology Watcher, published by Viking Penguin, wrote, "Statistically, the probability of any one of us being here is so small that you'd think the mere fact of existing would keep us all in a contented dazzlement of surprise." Charles F. Kettering was once quoted as saying, "You can send a message around the world in 1/5 of a second, yet it may take years for it to get from the outside of a man's head to the inside." This hour, some lessons in the old math as well as the new. And one final thought. In my hands I hold a candle whose flame is small to see. And if I give but one light to you, my life is filled for me. But in your hands you hold a torch for many eyes to see. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Thanks for your support of Lovers and Other Strangers. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.